fuel, a natural resource there, a fossil fuel that has been a pariah for 8 years. You had the biggest, most well-known coal company in the U.S. go bankrupt, I think in late June in Peabody, and since then coal prices are up almost 50 to 60%. So that's something I can't really put my finger on, but most of the coal where we are from is actually being used as smelter coal, coking coal to make steel, which I would say is kind of strangely very positive economically. I think probably the outlook in China may not be as bad as what people anticipate. Areas that give me concern, I think we've got to get a real handle on our student loan situation in the U.S. That's going to hamstring our economy potentially. And I'm very wary of some of the ETF bonds, bond funds, because as we mentioned, I think you've got a lack of liquidity there that a crisis will expose. I think when people are exposed to things in a crisis situation, they tend to sell first, ask questions later, selling to get selling, and you get a real disaster on your hands. And consumer confidence in our industry is hurt at the end of the day. So those are my concerns. But we have a game plan for right up to the election and post-election, and ready to carry it out.
Very nice. So some great updates. If you have questions, you can certainly email us and send some of those out. I'm just going to check the chat box real quick. You can also throw anything here in the chat box if you've got any just quick questions for Drew on this topic or some of the upcoming topics here. So next we wanted to talk GDC boosters. I think this time of year we see a lot of advisors are making their year-end push. They're trying to hit their numbers, maybe to achieve a payout grid or their goal, or for their team to get a bonus. And in the push, we really see a couple main areas shine where we see advisors getting a big lift and getting some big results. And one of the biggest GDC producing tools or products that we have with people is insurance. And we've got some pretty big insurance producers within D2, and we see people getting some pretty big results. I think there's been a big resurgence in long-term care, and we see a lot more activity with LTC opportunities. So the opportunity is still there. I think what's happened for advisors over the years is the traditional providers, your John Hancocks, your Genworth, as they started to limit who they would issue policies to, premiums started to go up. Then you've got Genworth getting out of the game altogether. There's a lot of disruption in this area, and I saw a lot of advisors kind of back off that. There's certainly some alternatives that were popular for a little while, and I've seen a big resurgence in them. And that's the ability to access some death benefits during your living years if you do need some kind of longer-term health care assistance. And the policies that provide these, you can typically get about 90% of the death benefit you can access for potential help from some potential long-term care need. And the cost to get it is pretty low. So if you're comparing for clients the traditional long-term care, methods, in what it may have cost somebody in the past compared to what it may cost them today, it's a pretty big difference. So we're seeing that be a very popular one. We're seeing some people go back and redoing some older long-term care policies where the premiums are continuing to go up and up and up. We're seeing also some add-ons. I think that there was a mindset for a lot of advisors that some coverage in that area is better than none. So they may have covered a client for maybe what they could have afforded at the time, or maybe covered for a percentage of their potential need. So we're seeing some going back and covering the gap in some other ways, some other needs. So that's been a huge booster for D2 advisors that are being diligent, looking for those opportunities. I would say the long-term care has been the biggest. With us rolling into tax time, next month we always have our annual tax ideas in this webinar, and bring a lot of great new ideas for you and your clients. But is you think about taxes and how it relates to insurance. Everyone's got clients out there that takes money from their required minimum distribution, their IRAs. They don't need it. You stuff it back in a non-qualified account. There's people that probably have enough income and assets that they won't spend in their lifetime. And these excess assets is a great area to turn a small amount of money into a large amount of money for their family or their beneficiaries. So going back in the old traditional capital transfer case, if there's some lump sum sitting around, taking a lump sum of money, put it into a policy, designate it for kids, grandkids, we see a lot of the second to die, or where maybe a couple, husband and wife, is the insured. If there's insurability issues, we've seen some neat ones where one spouse is insured. We've even seen somewhere the kids or grandkids are insured. Lots to do there. Another strategy too is the ongoing money. So don't discount people taking money out of their IRAs for required minimum distributions. Also, you've got people that just have excess income. They're pulling a pension, they're pulling Social Security. They don't spend all the money. Great strategy to put it to work to create some more wealth for their family, as long as they're not going to need it. So those have been huge GDC boosters we've seen. I've seen the other big resurgence in ongoing advice relationships or financial planning. You know, I've seen that be the probably number one way that advisors are replacing 12B1 income that's going away. That's been a real popular one. I've seen advisors just leverage that simple aspect and maybe update their menu of services and align people to a newer, pricing model there. So in that arena, I think that there's a few things to consider here. You know, this could be a great time to update your menu of services if you haven't. I see a lot of D2 advisors have pushed their fees up. We've noticed just Ameriprise in general is certainly pushing what they're doing with financial planning, engaging more people, pressing fees higher. That's an area that I think is very congruent to what clients want. Clients want advice. You know, they certainly value, Drew picking a neat opportunity in Japan for them to keep their portfolios afloat and going up. But at the end of the day, people really want help with retirement, saving on taxes, protecting their family, avoiding these large healthcare costs down the road. These are the big things that people are really, truly worried about. So if your main services are aligned with what people really want, there's a nice congruence there. And I think the other aspect, too, of true financial planning revenue, there's no ticket charges, haircuts, global admin fees, things like that that's come into play with investment products. It's just pure GDC. So that we've seen that be a popular resurgence for that reason. But the updating that menu is a great time to do it. I think as we go forward, clients will continue to see savings on the investment side, whether it's internal expenses moving to lower cost things, whether it's from compression in fees overall in our industry. You know, that's a big talk that advisors have, and I see that a lot of them combating that with financial planning fees. But keep in mind as you go through these areas and find opportunities and bring your best services to your clients, keep in mind that a lot of you out there are the Ritz-Carltons of our industry. And at the end of the day, price equals value. And if you're providing a certain level of value, there should be a certain price associated with that value. So it's okay if your prices are higher than the industry average. You look at the hotel industry, there's a lot of Motel 6s out there. And the Motel 6s to me are your low-cost index funds, your robo-advisor. And, the Motel 6s aren't going to take away from the Ritz-Carltons. The people that stay at a Ritz-Carlton stay there for a reason. They want the experience. They want all the extras that come with it. So that's a big, I think that's a big thing to consider as you build out your services and you build out your pricing. Think about what you want to be. Do you want to be a Fairfield Inn? Do you want to be a Marriott? Do you want to be the Ritz-Carlton? And the prices for the Ritz-Carlton are really irrelevant to the people that stay there, the Ritz-Carlton charges 20 or 50 bucks more a night. The people that go to Ritz-Carltons will still go there. So keep this in mind as you go through your menus. And nice, Drew just wrote a great analogy here that your typical Roach Motel is just like Vanguard. So if anyone's run into them with competition, with prospects or clients asking about them, you're going to get a kid that just graduated college as their advisor on the phone, and they'll probably change. So keep that in mind, that a lot of you are the Ritz-Carltons of our industry, and your pricing should reflect it. So as long as you can help people interpret the value, understand what that value is, it's okay to have that price. Drew, I'm going to put you on the spot here. You've recently had some LTC success. Have you had some nice insurance activity going on here recently?
Well, we've had it both with as a rider on the IUL product, and we've had standalone policies. Most of my clients, I think, Grant, would you agree, they're going towards the rider on the life insurance. They want to have some protection. Most of them are looking to pay all of it, but they like the idea of there being something for their family, after they're gone. So as a rider, that's where we've probably sold our most of our policies.
Nice. Well, tell us the latest on acquisition referrals. As many as you know, Drew's one of the best in the business, and we can all certainly learn there. So what are you seeing is working? Where are new people coming from for you?
For us, they're coming from really the high end of the market. I mean, it's 7 figures, professional, usually dual professional families. That's where it's been coming in. You've got some people now that have kind of halfway done it themselves, and that's maybe the monster's getting too big for them to handle. Spouse is wanting more time with that person, also wanting to have a backup plan in case something happens to the main kind of financial quarterback in the family. Tell you what, where we're seeing a lot of action, though, people are leaving Wells Fargo in droves. This, not to beat a dead horse, but, this whole litigation and what's gone on the banking side has definitely affected their wealth management side. And when I say people leaving, clients and advisors both.
Yes.
So I think that's a huge potential opportunity. If you don't know, Wells' main wheelhouse is something kind of like ADP.
Mm-hmm.
It's a quote unquote discretionary, but it's a platform of mutual funds. What we find is pretty healthy overlap. Typically, most everything's an 80-20 equity slant. Lots of high yield bonds on the bond side. So you get a case and need help with it, let us know, and we'll help you kind of dissect it and take it apart. So that's what we're seeing as far as referrals. That's what we've been getting is some higher end referrals, which has been great. And I have the ladies back at the office kind of working those for me. Also, with interest rates being as low as they are, people that have an option to take a lump sum pension, this is an excellent time, to look at the benefit of doing that and not waiting around until we get into a higher interest rate environment. And that goes right into a financial plan relationship.
I've heard of there's some companies around in the pharmaceutical industry are trying to unload pensions. We got some in the oil industry down around Texas that companies are trying to get the older workers to take lump sums in their pensions so that the company isn't on the hook for that. So great opportunity there. Now let's talk about those firms too. We've seen some changes with Edward Jones, Merrill Lynch, which are big competitors to people out there. What's going on with them?
Well, on the competitive landscape, I just kind of went over this in my Quantum Leap meeting this morning. Apparently, Edward Jones is changing their whole comp structure. So I don't know you're going to be able to they're going to be able to charge a commission in an IRA account. So that's going to be a new way of doing business for clients. They're going to be American fund heavy. Basically, our research has found you get a typical T. Rowe Price account. You're looking at about 1.31. I think for people like Wells and Edward Jones, what do we see in cost of ownership? Right around that same thing, 1.5. 1.25 to 1.5 plus the advisory fee. So you can go in there and kind of show them some really transparency. I think that's awesome. The other thing with Edward Jones is if you watch the commercials, they're really trying to market themselves as being transparent about their fees. that would be like you and I trying to market ourselves as Ben Affleck and we're making a movie. So, basically that will blow up in their face. I think that this was very, very ill-advised, and I think they're, basically assuming that their clients won't ever look under the hood. So that's Jones. Wells Fargo has their own problems, kind of starting at the top. I think people are very, very concerned because they probably don't know exactly what they own, and you have the bad press to go along with it. Merrill is having changes, and then we had a bombshell about a week and a half ago that LPL is shopping itself to be sold.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you ever had any interaction with LPL offices, I don't know who's going to want to buy that. There's 14,000 advisors. There's really no kind of go-to-market strategy or uniform way of doing business. It might be Raymond James, but essentially how that plays out with LPL will be a big opportunity and key learning from this standpoint. If you look at your business, as you should, that it is a business. Clients are going to be attracted to people that do business the way we do. They want advice, they want transparency on what they're paying, and they want to be able to own pretty much whatever they want to own. Okay. The LPL framework, as I know it, there's probably some advisors doing it the right way. I would say this is an opportunity to try to go after those people, bring them on as EARs. I would say that there's a fair amount that don't, and it's an opportunity to go after their assets one at a time. Then beyond LPL, I think you're going to see numerous smaller broker-dealers have to make a decision, are they going to stay in the business? And numerous smaller advisors, are they going to stay in the business? I don't think that's going to happen. I don't know if anybody on this call does trust business. The Office of the Comptroller of the Currency has put in regulations that make the Department of Labor, look like instructions on putting together a Lego set. It's nothing. They're coming in and just capping compensation is what the trust business is. So, our business is changing. I would also say keep that in mind. Get with John and get with Travis, get with your coaches if you're looking to acquire a practice, because if it's heavily laden with trust business, you can be crazy paying 3 times recurring revenue because there's a federal law on the books that's going to make what you charge in trust basically is going to be capped. So keep in mind, know what you're buying, know what your competitive landscape is when you go into a situation. I think regional brokerage will see some consolidation there. I think this is going to be a time to have a strong balance sheet. I do think probably in hindsight, the smartest move ever done was BlackRock buying the iShares franchise from Barclays when they about went under in 2008. But keep in mind, Jim Grant called this 2 months ago. iShares fees are way too high compared to what else is out there on State Street Spider products and in Vanguard. And sure enough, a month ago, we got a notice that iShares is going to be cutting the fees on some of their flagship funds. But also keep this in mind. The more into very obscure subsector of a subsector, grass, touch, and Tahiti funds clients want to go to, those by their nature are going to have more expense. So we just need to kind of keep note there. So yeah, definitely there's opportunity. There's opportunity around every corner. I think the business probably, if we're doing this hotel talk 36 months from now, probably looks a lot different than what it looks like today. I think there's going to be an onus on advice, onus on transparency, onus on owning liquid investments. If you work with D2, you're already there. You're ahead of the curve, and we'll be looking at what's the next battle that needs to be fought.
Nice. So it's great insights overall. I really like these companies, these other, competitors that we have, and whether it's your larger cities, whether it's your smaller towns. These are all the firms that I hear advisors go up against. So great opportunity to get clients. I think even bigger opportunities to get advisors to come over. The movement in advisors looking to have conversations from Wells, from Edward Jones has exploded here in the last month. So whether it's Merrill, LPL, a regional firm that's not going to survive or is going to get gobbled up. These are huge opportunities to capture clients, to capture advisors looking to move. So any of that money in transition, the more in place you are, the better spot you have to bring in some of these advisors, some of these clients. Get ready for it, because I think this next year we're certainly going to see a lot of movement there. I know we've got quite a few people in the pipeline with D2 advisors that are bringing in people from some of these exact firms. So jump on it. Great opportunities here. This could be one of the great opportunities of our industry for people that are in it for the long haul, that are growth oriented and looking to build. So really great stuff today. Any final thoughts or insights, Drew, before we wrap her up?
Well, I would say get out and vote. We're in Chicago. An honor to be in Chicago. Vote often and vote early. Vote for the funeral home. Vote from the gravestone. It reminds me of a song, John. It was a little parody based on the Candyman song, and it says, who can take a ballot, change the vote to Gore, just like in Chicago when they do that a few more. Democrats can. So, do your civic duty, and we will catch you on the flip side of the election.
Yeah, we'll see a lot of you here at the PWA conference. And remember, we got D2 Live coming up next month. If you haven't registered, we still got a few spots left. Go ahead and jump in. And everyone stay bullish out there. We'll catch you next month on the next webinar. Everyone take care.